Okay, so for today, I'm gonna be using the ZSNSW emulator to play Super Metroid. So today, let's just load the game up. By the way, I had to like record myself over the actual video I recorded earlier, just because I forgot to add a recording device. I used the wrong one. So here we go. Okay, so off the bat, I love what the game does is show you little snippets of what's going on around the first area of the game you play. And it kind of shows you, maybe it's a station, you see little bits of like dead bodies everywhere. And it also implies it's the third linear game in the series. That's what I like about it. And immediately just shows you the title screen with dead bodies lying everywhere. So instantly, especially if you're a kid playing this game, you're like, man, what the fuck is going on? Why is there dead bodies littered around like this weird, weird caterpillar looking thing? So if you're a new game or a new fan to the game, that's basically like a really good way to introduce someone. And right now, here we go.
The
I'm gonna
last
start up
Metroid
the game right
is
now.
in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
So the sequence of events, Samus basically outlines right before she goes to the first section of the map. She talks about the space pirates that she battled in the first Metroid game, which took place on planet Ceres. Basically, that's where she first met the Metroid before taking on their leader, which is Mother Brain, which you see right there. And then she goes on to talk about the next game, which is Metroid 2, Return of Samus, where she goes to the Metroid homeworld, which is SR388, and her mission is basically just to kill every single last Metroid on that planet. And then she basically decides to save this little larva that barely hatched when she passed by it, because I guess they needed to study it or whatever, because no one ever really studied the Metroids before the space pirates, from what I remember in the lore. So she says she delivers it to the Galactic Research Station at Ceres, so scientists could study its energy producing capabilities. And I gotta say, even for 16-bit, that's actually really good transitions right there, especially with the little Metroid moving inside the tube. I always like that. The scientists' findings were astounding. They discovered that the powers of the Metroid might be harnessed for the good of civilization. As you can see, all of them are performing tests on the Metroid larva itself, seeing how it could power anything up. Satisfied that all was well, I left the station to seek a new bounty to hunt. But I had hardly gone beyond the asteroid belt when I picked up a distress signal. Ceres Station was under attack. Okay, so immediately we know there's already something going on where she just left. So now we gotta figure out, okay, what's going on? Okay, so immediately as soon as we drop down, you hear this blaring alarm going on in the background. If you're a kid playing this the first time around, you don't really think about it too much, but as you get older and as you do more playthroughs, you kind of recognize that it's an alarm going off. You also notice everything's powered down, there's no lighting going on, everything's kind of a haze. So obviously something happened. Alright, so now we're in the chamber where the Metroid was at. You see the dead bodies lying on the floor. And you're wondering what the fuck happened here. Okay, so we just see the Metroid larva just sitting on the floor. Nothing out of the ordinary right there. Can't really pick it up or anything. And then just out of the blue, you see a pair of eyes just appearing, and there he is, the first boss of the game, Ridley. This fight is a scripted fight. You cannot beat him no no matter how hard you try, he will always come out on top because that is how the dev team programmed him. What you could do is actually you could damage him just enough to where he actually drops the Metroid larva for a bit, but then he picks it back up. But I always like that the dev team did that. Like they actually give you like a little faint glimmer of hope that you could actually beat him. And they do a good thing too. They actually make him turn red if you do enough damage on him. So right now he's starting to make that little transition right here. Yeah, you can see his body turning red as I'm doing more damage to him. But obviously, it's a scripted fight. You can't really beat him. So as soon as you lose enough energy, basically he bolts it, activates the self-destruct sequence, and forces you out. Okay, so now you see the entire place basically starting to fall apart, all the steam coming out of the groundwork. Next one right here, you see all the debris falling from the ceiling, implying the place is basically going to blow up right now. And I always like that. I always like attention to detail like that. Even the door blowing up right here, making you think you can't even go back now. And then the shifting of the room itself, I always love that. You always feel a sense of dread, especially with that countdown going down. So, out of here with more than enough time. I always felt like a minute was too long for that counter. I mean, for new players, it was probably like the best time available. For me personally, it was just like too long of a sequence. I felt maybe like 45 seconds to 35 seconds would probably be a little bit better, especially considering most players probably picked up on the fact that there was a sprint button in the game by then. So here we go. We go back to the first area of the first Metroid game, Planet Ceres, and we immediately land right here on the surface of the planet, most notably known as Crateria. And then a lot of new players don't know this, but your ship, it actually counts as a save point, so you could easily save your progress right here if you really needed to like dip after the first 8 minutes of the game. And then most video games, you're naturally inclined to want to go to the right because that's how most are sequenced. And then this one, you land like sort of in the middle of a frame, so you don't really know where to go. So you're naturally kind of, drawn to the right. Obviously, you can't break these blocks because you don't have any weapons, and you can't jump high enough to actually reach that ledge right there. So what do? You naturally go to the left, and that's where you find the first door available to inside the planet. And I love the attention to detail. You see all these insects basically crawling around in here, implying that this place has been long since abandoned. I always like that dread, especially like that kind of like that dark atmosphere. And then right here, you can't really go into this room so far because you don't have what's called the morph ball. Helps you get into areas easily accessible with smaller ones. And then I actually do like this texture that gave Samus off the bat. You can see her visor's turned on. It's glowing yellow, implying that it's powered on. I always love attention to detail like that. Like, you don't really get too much of that, especially in like early games. This room right here, you can't really go into it because obviously you don't have the morph ball. And then that purple door right there, you need missiles in order to break it down, so you're naturally kind of forced to go further down. And then this room right here, this is actually part of the first game. This was the final lair when you made your escape from the planet. So it's all been destroyed, as you can see. There's mist everywhere. It's a long shaft. I freaking hated that. That's like the one thing I hated about this game, was that long freaking shaft. And then this room right here, this is actually the first area of the game where you could see remnants of the first game. That's where Mother Brain was originally stationed at. So they do nice little tidbits and nods to their first game right here, which is, like I said, I love attention to detail like that. As you can see, it's been some time since this area has even been explored by anybody or even touched. So now we go down further into the depths. This is actually where you pop up in the first Metroid game. Literally, as you play the first playthrough of that game, you appear in this part of Crateria. As you can see, nothing out of the ordinary here. Any casual Metroid fan can tell you the way you find that morph ball right there, the same sequence as the first Metroid game itself. That's exactly where that morph ball is the first time around that game as well. So we grab it, and then immediately the security system turns on. So that camera right there in the corner starts zooming at us, and you can see everything's powered on at this point. So it's been made aware that somebody has intruded on the planet. Yeah, I really gotta like remember to record my stuff with the right audio equipment next time I make these streams, because I really hate must I can see everything's been powered on. So right here, these blocks seem pretty destroyable. That's gonna be like a running thing in the game. You use our morph ball and go into this room, and we'll pick up the first set of missiles that we come into the game. Right now, I'd like to talk about the Chozu statue. That's what these things are called right here. The Chozu are a race of people that actually raised Samus when her parents were killed, and there's not many of them left. In fact, they were a dying race by the time Samus was found, and they took her into their care. But they leave remnants of their existence behind on planets they either visit or they are aware of. With the Chozu statues, they usually leave behind items. Most notably the morph ball. It's one of their items. The screw attack and the space jump are also part of their weapons. Alright, so red doors take about 5 missiles to crack open. Nothing really too shabby there. We come along to this long corridor, and bam, there's another security camera. So now, for a first-time player, that's probably like the creepy factor right there, because we're not used to kind of like something spying on us right off the bat in the first part of the game. So naturally, we're kind of inclined to want to go back to where we came from, because there's nothing really like implying that there's more here. So make our way back to the elevator, and let's see what happens. Alright, so immediately in this next area, you can see the room is now much brighter. There's no mist anywhere at all. And the music has changed. Now you have like this weird sort of beeping. So we go into this next room, and bam, the space pirates are here. And these guys, they're the easiest ones. You can easily just take them down with one little hit from your blaster. It's nothing too biggie. They actually do get powerful as you progress in the game. And they do change colors, which I always thought was a nice touch to tell you they're more powerful than the other ones. Like I said, I freaking hated this long shaft, even today. It's like the most time-consuming thing in the game. Especially like the little tiny platforms. You have to do 2 different types of jumps in the game. There's what I like to call vertical jumping, like that. And there's also these things called somersault jumps. Personally, I prefer somersault jumps just because it's more easier to control Samus with them. At least, in my opinion, it is. Like with vertical jumping, I can't really have too much control of where I'm going to jump with her, but with somersault jumps, I do. And it's easier to control her mid-air with those somersault jumps. Those glowing orb things, they're mostly just life energy you can easily replenish. You don't really have to get them, but if you're especially low, like I am right now, probably be a good idea. Me, I played this game so many times, so it's like I already know. I don't really need them right now. The room to our right, 5 missiles, breaks it down. We go in, and if I remember correctly, there should be a little map available of Crateria. Every section of the game has a map room that you could easily access, and it'll show you most of the area accessible. And I say most because there's a lot of hidden rooms throughout every single map. So as you can see, right now we are in Crateria. Those shafts with arrows pointing down, that shows you the next parts of the maps that are accessible. Obviously Brinstar probably the next one we go to. Meridia is one we will not access until later into the game. Same thing with the wrecked ship. We do not have the necessary equipment to go there just yet. So Brinstar will be the next area we'll access. Anything that has an S on the map are save rooms. If you're running an emulator, you don't really need them. And then anything that has a dot on the map in a square like that, it implies that those are items, important items, that you definitely want to get. They can either be missiles, super missiles, power bombs, energy tanks, the works. And then I'm not going to go into this next area right here just because I already know I need the next upgrade, which is the bombs, in order to access the item that's at the end of that hallway, which is, if I remember correctly, should be missiles. And I don't think there's anything else other than that there. Those flying little creature things, you can't destroy those at all. They are impervious to most attacks except from a super missile. And most of the time, you don't want to waste your super missiles at all on those guys. Like, that's like the worst thing to do, is waste your super missiles on those. Like, you definitely want to save those for like bosses or mini bosses. So naturally, you can see on the map, there's an area beyond just that rock right there. So we have to go to the next area of the map we haven't accessed, which is, like I said, I always love attention to detail. So down we go into the shaft. Little fly guy, don't not waste time with them. And then right before this mini boss that we are about to come up to, I like that they give you ample amounts of opportunity to collect the things you need. So you see all those little enemies right there, you can easily kill them in order to get energy or missiles before the big fight. So I always like that devs do that. Right, so we have enough missiles, we're maxed out, and our energy is close to full. We're at 91. And at this next area right here, I love that it shows that the door is still open. It gives you ample amounts of opportunity to leave if you're not feeling up to tasks with killing this mini boss just yet. But once that door closes, that's it. We are done. We are one-on-one with this guy. So there's our upgrade, the bombs. Like it says, you need to get into the morph ball stage in order to use the bombs itself. And then this is what I love right here. Closes the door, gives you that little fear factor. It's a lot of Metroid gaming. It's a fear factor that they instill. And then this boss is probably the easiest one in the game. It doesn't really take that much to take him out. You see, after a couple missiles, he's already weakened. You destroy those little projectiles he throws at you. They'll give you replenishables like missiles and health. So you can easily collect those, and then you can just easily take him out in just a couple swings. Boom, dead. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's go. And then after every boss or mini boss you defeat, they always usually give you replenishables as a reward. So yeah, I always like that. We can skip all those guys since we are fully energized, fully set. And then there's nothing really much to explore at this point. We will be moving on to the next area of the map. Before I forget, actually, yeah, no, we got to go back down here. There is a set of missiles we have to get. Now that we have the bomb, we can actually access the area they're in. So we set down one, boom, 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 and boom. There's a little trick that you kind of learn with Samus that's called the bomb jump. So what you do is you go into the morph ball stage, and then you set a bomb in order to get some height with her. So right now it doesn't really look like much, but right here, it actually helps you a lot. It kind of shows you and introduces you to secret areas and passages throughout the map. So that's something you want to look out for. And right here we come across the energy tank. If I remember correctly, there should be about 10 or 12 of these throughout the game. They're really useful for battling larger enemies, essentially. Mini bosses, all the works. And then right here you see a space pirate. Different shade of color, like I said. Some of them are a little bit more powerful than the ones you fought earlier, so you see how they're blocking your attacks. So now you have to kind of experiment with the only other weapon you have, which is the missile. So when you switch over, it should just take him out in just one easy swoop. So bam. Do it again. Boom. We go back down. Boom. Get the fuck out of my way. Boom. I don't need this from you, Karen. Boom. And then right here, as a new player, you're kind of wanting to explore that secret door right there because it's not on the map. So we keep on moving. Let's go. We keep on moving. Everything's all misty in here. We're wondering what the hell's going on. And in this next room, you see Ridley as the only really sort of familiar face on that statue. So this implies that these are bosses throughout the game. There's about 4 of them. There's Ridley, Kraid, Dragoon, and Phantom. Ridley is obviously the last one you will face. He is just way too powerful for you. The first one you face in the game is actually Kraid. He's one of the more easier ones. You actually don't even need any special equipment to face him. If I remember correctly, I believe Phantom is the next one you face. Same thing with him. You don't really need anything special to face him. Dragoon, don't really need anything either. And then Ridley, you practically need everything. So yeah, that once you defeat all 4, you come back to this section of the game, and it takes you to the final piece of the game. And then we come across these little like brain things inside of this like nest. They're kind of like a refill station. So every time you shoot it, like a little critter comes out, you kill them, and they give you replenishables. So now we go on to the elevator shaft, and we come across the next area of the map, which is called Brinstar. Brinstar kind of shows you the different sort of features of the planet itself. Whereas Crateria is kind of dry and barren, Brinstar is loaded with like vegetation, different insects, different animals in general. And then, surprisingly, in this part of the map, you will also find certain allies in the game. There's only maybe like 2 different allies in the game you encounter. And that's pretty much it for part 1. We will continue the next one when we